Hello, this webinar is titled A Country Built to Last, Preserving the Core. Without the Creator, Our Institutions Fail, Part 2. In the 20th century, these leaders also reflected about the Creator. American institutions have for their foundation reverence for God. If we could imagine that to be swept away, these institutions of our American government could not long survive. The institutions of our country stand justified both in reason and in experience. I am aware that they will continue to be assailed, but I know they will continue to stand. We may perish, but they will endure. They are founded on the rock of ages. Calvin Coolidge was saying our institutions have as their foundation reverence for God. Without this, they will fail. President Hoover said this, "Our founding fathers did not invent the priceless boon of individual freedom and respect for the dignity of men. That great gift to mankind sprang from the Creator and not from governments. The founding fathers with superb genius welded together the safeguards of these freedoms." What's he saying? Our institutions weld together rights from the Creator and government protection of those rights. He goes on, "A nation is strong or weak. It thrives or perishes upon what it believes to be true. If our youth is rightly instructed in the faith of our fathers, in the traditions of our country, in the dignity of each individual man, then our power will be stronger than any weapon of destruction that man can devise." What's he saying? Preserving the core is critical. God has blessed us with another wonderful word heritage. The great documents of that heritage are from the Bible, the Declaration of Independence, and the Constitution of the United States. Within them alone can the safeguards of freedom survive. What's he saying? The Bible, the Declaration, and the Constitution are the safeguards of freedom. Harry Truman, his favorite prayer was this, "O Almighty and everlasting God, Creator of heaven, earth, and the universe, help me to be, to think, to act what is right because it is right. Make me truthful, honest, and honorable in all things. Make me intellectually honest for the sake of right and honor and without thought of reward to me. Give me the ability to be charitable, forgiving, and patient with my fellow men. Help me to understand their motives and their shortcomings, even as thou understandest mine. Amen and amen and amen." Leaders seek God. Dwight Eisenhower, 34th President, said this, "At such a time in history, we who are free must proclaim anew our faith. This faith in America is the abiding creed of our fathers. It is a faith in the deathless dignity of man. Governed by eternal moral and natural laws, this faith defines our full view of life. It establishes beyond debate those gifts of the Creator that are man's inalienable rights, and that makes all men equal in His sight." What's he saying? Faith in the Creator and the dignity of man is the basis for a nation. We are talking about the spiritual foundations of our form of government, having certain convictions as to a God in heaven and an almighty power, that this relationship between a spiritual faith, a religious faith, and our form of government is so closely defined and so obvious that we should really not need to identify a man as unusual because he recognizes it. What's he saying? Our system of government has spiritual foundations that are obvious. Our whole theory of government, finally expressed in our Declaration, was to give the reasons to mankind why we had established such a government. Man is endowed by his Creator. It did not assert that only Americans had certain rights. Man is endowed by his Creator, that is, humankind, or all men, as I believe was the expression used. So this connection is very, very clear. What's he saying? The Declaration contains our whole theory of government, and that the rights granted by the Creator as expressed in the Declaration are valid for all men at all times, everywhere. Ronald Reagan, the 40th President, said this, "We've been a free people living under the law with faith in our Maker and in our future. I've said before that the most sublime picture in American history is of George Washington on his knees in the snow of Valley Forge. That image personifies a people who know that it's not enough to depend on our own courage and goodness. We must also seek help from God, our Father and Preserver." What's he saying? we as a nation must always seek God. The morality and values such faith implies are deeply embedded in our national character. Our country embraces those principles by design, and we abandon them at our peril. How can we hope to retain our freedom through the generations if we fail to teach our young that our liberty springs from an abiding faith in our Creator? What's President Reagan saying here? We must teach our young that rights come from our Creator, or we will fail as a country. The explicit promise in the Declaration that we're endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights was meant for all of us. It wasn't meant to be limited or perverted by special privilege or by double standards. Trusting in God and helping one another, we can and will preserve the dream of America, the last best hope of man on earth. Reagan's thoughts? America is the last best hope of man or humankind on earth. Presidents come and go. History comes and goes. But principles endure and ensure future generations to defend liberty, not a gift from government, but a blessing from our Creator. Without God, there's no virtue, because there's no prompting of conscience. Without God, we're mired in the material, that flat world that tells us only what the senses perceive. Without God, there's a coarsening of society, and without God, democracy will not and cannot long endure. If we ever forget that we're one nation under God, then we will be a nation gone under. What an important statement. If we ever forget that we're one nation under God, then we will be a nation gone under. This moves us right into the key questions we've been asking during this series. Are we as a nation for the Creator or at war with the Creator? And are you as an individual for the Creator or at war with the Creator? There's a lot to think about here as we think about preserving the core. My name's Craig Seibert. Thanks for listening.